The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, new outside bar, now open on match days.
There's a chance here, a great save, a turner from McClare. Might come, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday Week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Paul Hillsborough, and I'm glad to be back as well. And with me on the line today, we have Mr. Fudge. First of all, he's back, and he's bigger than ever.
Bigger than ever. Live, talking to you from the Medeski Stadium car park. I was thinking that this could be a regular feature that we forget about every week. And I do it from the ground in which we played the previous Saturday. No, I've just escaped work and need a car park to sit in. So here I am.
If anybody knows the car parks of Reading, it's going to be down Fudge, ladies and gents. Mr. Hoyland is here as well. Eddie, you'll be now. The devil are you?
Look into my eyes, can't you see they're open wide? Would I lie to you, baby? Would I lie to you? Oh, yeah. So that's in honour of all of the times over the past weeks that I said, yeah, I'm definitely recording tonight, lads. Don't worry. I'll see you online. And it turned out I wasn't. I had no intention of being there at all. But I'm here now. That's what matters. It's Christmas. It's the season of forgiveness. I'm throwing myself on your mercy and other body parts as well. I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back.
And of course, we have Mr. Marriott Jamesy O'Bean. How the devil are you?
Yeah, good. I can't really compete with this because I'm clearly not in the car park of Reading FC. I've not had several months away and then made a dramatic return. I've just been in the pub around the corner, had a couple of beers, so could be fun.
That's why we love you so much, Jay. You're our steady rock, Albin. And thank you so much for yourself and Mr. Dicky Al for keeping things ticking over last. I rather enjoyed the podcast last week. It was relaxing. It was cosy. A little bit aroused, actually.
There was no knob gags. There was no knob gags, and there was no 90s reggae singing either. So me and Eddie, we're not fans. We're not fans.
It was better. It was funnier. It was more to the point. It was a travesty. It's not what we expected.
That's not what we set out to do when we started.
I'm sorry. I have to apologise that there was actually quite a lot of football chats in the podcast last week, which I know is something that we tend to shy away from here. So my apologies for that.
Right then, ladies and gents. So first things first. Of course, we've got two games to quickly run over this week. The first one is the Reading game. And now we always knew this was going to be a difficult affair, and we always knew that Reading are an incredibly boring keep the ball team, and they did try to squash our play, didn't they? And to be honest, first out they didn't do it very well, did they?
I'm going to pass over to Dan Fudge on this because it doesn't get to many. It doesn't get to many games. No, not because I was too drunk. All right, I was too drunk, but it doesn't get to many games, so it's only fair that the ones that he goes to, he gets the chance to talk about first.
Hey, I've been to the last 3 away games. I've become quite the oracle on this away camp. But yes, I thought Reading were excellent, and what's that phrase that people use? It's not a game for the purists. Now, Reading are, and it's no surprise given that Jaap Stam's their manager, a very, very well organised team. Do you know what I mean? They're absolutely incredible at just keeping the ball. You can't score without the ball. It's football 101. And I thought
is that a nice way to say boring, Fudge?
They are bloody boring. Don't get me wrong. They are like watching Middlesbrough and West Brom. But that's before West Brom started scoring 4 a game the other week. But yeah, it was difficult to watch at times because there was nothing we could do. I mean, Bannon got absolutely just pushed out of the game. Fletch came on. He was a bit lively. It gave us another dimension. It gave us somewhere else to go. But they were just good. And in a game with very few chances, they took their 2. We only took 1 of ours. You know what I mean? I think there was probably only about 8 chances in the game. And I think the first one they brought the deadlock with was a huge deflection, and I think it was a mistake by Westwood. I was 2 beers in by then anyway, so I had to worry about that myself. But it was great to watch. If you were a football man that knew about football, you'd have enjoyed it and gone, this is really well organised. This is really very well done. And I think Reading will go on to better things. I think there are one or two players apart from just off of being the finished article. I don't know if anybody else would agree.
Does it worry you that there's teams like Reading who were absolute also-rans last season, who they look like well-organised teams. They've got an idea of what they're doing. They're picking up points. They're getting the results. This was one of those games for me where it felt like either we were going to put them back in their box and we were going to kind of express our dominance and announce ourselves as one of the teams that is going to be in that top six for the entire season, wherever it is. We came away having, with our tail between our legs, having been taught a little bit of a lesson by a very well-organised team, not lacking in talent, well set up. They reminded me a lot of us last season. And that worries me a little bit, because teams like that can squeeze teams like us at the moment, the way that we're playing, out of those playoff places. And so when we're playing them head-to-head, we've got to impose ourselves, and I don't think we did.
Look, Reading will be, up there or thereabouts, I think, come what may. I think that they were only in the Premier League, 2-3 years ago. There are, they've got decent backing behind them. They've got a manager who seems to know what he's doing. I actually thought it was a really even game, and I think that it was a game that really kind of hinged on two key moments, which were the chance for Lucas João. I think if he sticks that in the back of the net, we go 1-0 up in the second half, and it's a very different game of football. And as it happens, they end up scoring, and it's a deflected goal. It's a bit scruffy, it's a bit messy, and ultimately we didn't do enough to get back into the game. But I think that it could easily have gone in a different direction. The good thing for me is that we're going to somewhere like Reading. We're not getting outplayed or anything like that. I think we were well in that game for a lot of it, and it was one of those where it felt like it was just kind of a bit of a luck that went against us rather than a team that categorically beat us. That probably the only worrying thing that I would say that comes from it is that we're back in that situation now where we're heading towards Christmas. We've not beaten any other teams in the top six again, and psychologically, how big does that become as we start to get towards? We've got Newcastle in a couple of weeks. Are we going to go up there and stuff them? Is it sort of like a bit of feeling of history repeating itself now, whereby when we come up against the other teams that are up there with us, we just don't seem to get the results?
I agree with you. I think we've got it's deja vu all over again for me. Currently, right now, unless something kicks on in January or even in the next few weeks, I think we're missing something. If you look at Brighton and you look at Newcastle, and to some extent Reading, they look like the finished article, like they're ready to go up, like they're ready to go. And I don't think we're in that ballpark yet. I don't think we're in that, that upper echelons of the league where we could potentially just piss it. Now, as far as Lucas João's sitter comes, we were clearly missing Forestieri. I think that was for all to see, and to a lesser extent, we're missing Hooper as well. But with Lucas João's miss, I was actually in the toilet taking photos of men.
So worry, hang on.
Oh shit! The rumours are true. I didn't believe it at first. Bloody hell.
Yeah, well,
it was for you to maybe not rephrase it, but just explain yourself a little bit.
I'll go into a bit more detail, lads. I was in there. I was having a lag, and there was two of the geezers stood there, absolutely waist gashed. I mean, they were battered, and they were going, "Oi, are you that Fudge?" I went, "Oh Christ!" Like, where is this gonna go? They went, "You're that Fudge, aren't you? Off that thing?" I went, "Yeah," and I'm thinking, right, where's this gonna take me? And he went, "Do you mind taking a photo of us while we're having a piss?" I went, "Whoa!" I went, "Well, That's not where I thought that was going, but yeah, of course, lads. You know what I mean?" So the pair of them pulled their trousers right down to their shins, like a small child would pissing into a ball, and stood there with their asses out and passed me their phone to take a picture. So as we heard Lucas João clean through and the crowd go nuts, I'm taking photos of blokes' bare asses in the urinal at the Majestic Stadium.
Is that why you've gone back this evening to see if you can catch up with these chaps again?
Well, yeah, because there's a few butchers around here, you know what I mean? I'm just looking at it now. The lights are off. I might be able to pick something up here, you know what I mean? Get a few more photo opportunities.
I mean, I've heard obviously a lot about this João miss, and It could have been better, yeah. But the positive point about that for me is the actual build to goal. He did so well to get into that position in the first place. He saw off 2 defenders. It wasn't an easy shot. Once I was actually listening to it on the radio on the day, and the way it came from the radio was he was clean through on goal, which clearly he wasn't. He had a lot to do. And yes, if he'd have put it in, I think that would have been a fantastic goal. So looking on the positive side, he'd done the hard work. It was just the finish. And I'm hearing a lot about how crappy he is at the moment, and I don't think it's particularly true.
No,
I don't know. Go on, James, because I think you and I differ on this one.
I was watching him quite a bit on Tuesday night because he got into that kind of situation again where he was getting quite a bit of stick on Tuesday. A few fans giving him a bit of a hard time. He actually works incredibly hard, and he does do a lot of the off the ball stuff quite well. I think he does pull defenders away as well. I think that he does a lot of the stuff that I and a couple of people highlighted last season about the work that Gary Hooper does off the ball. Lucas João does all that, and people that say that he's lazy, that's not true. I think that he's got an aura about him of being a bit of a lazy footballer, but I don't think he is. The problem ultimately is when you're a striker, you've got to stick the ball in the back of the net, and there are a lot of Wednesday fans now that will still say that Atiniu is the worst striker we've ever had. And it's not because they don't appreciate the work that he does off the ball and the space that he creates and the way he pulls 2 defenders away on a corner and stuff like that. It's because when he's in front of goal, 6 yards out with an open net, he managed to stick it over the bar. Lucas João this season missed that chance at Brentford, and we still don't know whether it was offside or not. Who knows? And then he missed the chance clean through on goal against Reading. And they are going to be things that stick in your head. And if he's going to be a successful striker, he's got to carry on doing the hard work that he's doing really well at the moment, but he's got to score goals when he's clean through on goal, because that's what strikers do. So that's his situation at the moment, that he is doing a lot of the hard work, and he's doing it, I think, pretty well. And he's keeping his place. I think we were saying on Tuesday, me and my mate, that it must be the first time he's started 4 games in a row for us, because I don't think he's ever done that before. But he's not scored in any of those 4 games. And that, for a striker, ultimately is the stat that people are going to see, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you look at the actual goal we did manage to score against Reading, he did what I feel is the job that Carlos has him on the pitch to do. He brought it out of the air and laid it off for the actual cross that came in that Fletcher headed in. And nobody mentioned that bit.
But fair enough, but we still lost the game at Reading. If Lucas João scores the chance for his clean through on goal, we might not lose the game at Reading. So, playing a key role in the goal that pulls it back to 2-1 is, I would say, possibly overshadowed by the fact that he didn't stick the ball in the back of the net when he probably should have done. And I'm trying not to be too harsh on the kid, because he is a kid. He's still learning his craft and whatever. It's just hard to see past the fact that when you've got a striker and they're not scoring, I don't expect him to score worldly goals, but when he's clean through on goal one-on-one with a goalkeeper, you expect him to at least get it on target.
This is not a knock on João. To an extent, it's a knock on our entire strike force, because it seems that Gary Hooper is the only player that we've got who seems to be an out-and-out striker who gets a chance at a goal that you'd expect a striker to at least get on target and probably score, and does it. Gary Hooper has his own problems in that he doesn't get into the positions as often as he should do, but we have 3 strikers who, we've waxed lyrical, haven't we, on this podcast about how they can all pull defenders left, right and centre. They've got good vision. They play well with their back to goal. They do all the things that a striker should do apart from scoring goals. And the worry for me this season is that we have a very creative midfield. We're not lacking in chances coming from those guys. The problem that we've got is that without either the finishing prowess of a Gary Hooper or the do-it-for-myself genius of a Fernando Forestieri, we just don't have a cutting edge. And that's going to cause us problems. We get away with it at times because we're still a better football side than most others in this division. But when we come up against the very best, and Reading, and I don't rate Reading massively, but Reading right now are amongst the best teams in this division, we come unstuck because we can't turn chances into goals. And that's something that we absolutely have to address, because it doesn't look like Gary Hooper is going to be able to play 30 games this season. It doesn't look like Forestieri is going to play 30 games this season if he keeps getting banned. So that leaves a real problem. We can't keep picking up, 4 points out of every 3 games. We've got to pick up 6 points out of every 3 games. And you cannot do that in this division without a striker that is scoring goals, as close to 1 a game as possible.
We miss Forestieri and his tenacity, like you're saying. We miss Gary Hooper and his natural finishing and the way he pulls the defenders out. But for me, the thing that Carlos didn't get right was starting Atinuhu and Lucas João on the pitch at the same time. I thought that was odd for me. I'd have gone with Fletcher playing behind one of them because they were much of a muchness. For it was lump, whack, see if you get the head on that. And then we had to change it. And then we started playing football a little bit. Now, Atinuhu has got better feet than Lucas João. But I don't know what happened. But Atinuhu, I'm not a big Dave Boo boy, but he was poor that day. He got nothing. And nothing went his way. And for me, I'd have rather played Fletcher behind João.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually. I did think when the teams were announced and we saw that Ati was starting, I mean, we actually joked about it on the podcast last week, me and Rich, where we said, he scored a hat-trick against Notts County reserves, therefore is he going to start on Saturday? And he actually started on Saturday. I'm not sure that that's really his place in this team anymore. I know that he's got a lot of fans, and I'm sure that Lord Hills was going to defend him to the hills, but I just didn't feel that it was particularly effective playing from kick-off on Saturday. I think that he's still got a role to play coming off the bench when there's 20 minutes to go. I think he did it well on Tuesday night, but I just don't see him as being... He shouldn't be one of our first-choice strikers right now.
I don't think Carlos had much of a choice, though, because Fletcher wasn't 100%. That's why he started on the bench, and obviously with Hooper not being there wasn't really...
It was a natural choice.
I did realise that Fletcher wasn't 100%. But I mean,
but come on, who did we have on the bench?
That's the thing.
Here we go.
How are we going to get there? Lord Hillsborough's getting there.
Let's just sit back and enjoy Lord Hillsborough masturbating for the next 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, but it has to be said. This is hopefully going to be the saviour to all our problems, because we've got 2 things to do.
We're going to blow some smoke up his ass, still.
Let's not build him up. Yeah, let's give him a chance, shall we?
Right.
What did I just hear in my ear then?
So, look, we've all seen, obviously, it's that time of year again, and the rumours have now started again with Jordan Rhodes. Okay? We've all seen those rumours. It's going to happen. We've seen it from professional sources as well. Now, yes, we can buy another striker and we'd have 6 strikers, and then it's going to get really, really confusing later on, which it'd be wonderful. And to be fair, we've probably got the money to do it these days as well. However, you can't tell me that you chaps didn't have a little bit of excitement in yourself when you saw a Hurst shirt on the pitch on a proper game again.
Absolutely. I thought it was great that he got a run out. If I'm honest, I said on Tuesday night before the game that that I'd have played him on Tuesday night. I'd have given João a rest. I don't think he did enough at Reading to justify keeping his place, and I'd have played George Hurst and just let him run at them and see what he could do. That's why I'm not a football manager, because it was probably the wrong thing to do, and that's not to do with it being George Hurst, but I think that floppy bunny is, as I say, any kid that gets a run out for 20 minutes on the Saturday and does all right. I think, maybe you take a risk on them on the Tuesday, but he didn't do that. But you know what, he looked all right. He ran about. He looked hungry for it. We scored a goal while he was on the pitch. He must have had some kind of positive impact. And he's the great thing now is that he's made his debut now. He's past that point of being the guy that's waiting in the wings, waiting to do it. He's done it now. He's played his first proper first team football in the Championship. And so next time he's on the bench, it's not going to be a surprise. It's not going to be headline making. He can actually now get on with doing what we know he can do, because he's done it for our academy team. He's done it for the England youth teams, and that's make an impact and score some goals.
Absolutely. And when he does score that first goal, good Lord. It's just going to be wonderful.
Your fruit bag's going to explode. You're going to drop your fruit bag, aren't you?
I'm going to drop everybody's fruit bag all week. But, I mean, when it did come on for a run, how did it look? Did it look okay?
He didn't get much of it. He had a few bits, but I think for me, it was a 4 or 5 out of 10 performance. I mean, like I say, he only had a few minutes, but it was men against boys for me. He looked like a kid that had just turned out for a Sunday league team. You know what I mean? Like some 17-year-old kid that you think, go on, son, go and have a run out. You're probably quicker than him. Go and have a go. And more game time is going to help that. But for me, it was like James says. I'm just happy that the debut's out the way now, because it was like when Penny and when Sheldon and Amy Farrah Fowler first slept together on The Big Bang Theory. You know what I mean? It's out the way now. Let's move forward. Let's get on with it.
Target audience reference. Well done, Fudge. You've been loving it. Right, so that brings an end to the Reading game. Although I believe, James, did you have a bit of a incident on the train that we've had from there?
Yeah, well, he's probably not going to thank me for telling this story, so I'll describe it as an unnamed friend who I was on the train with. This was on the way to Reading, so bear in mind at this point, no beer has been consumed. It's a long train journey to Reading, right? It's 2 hours 50 minutes, which is longer than it takes to get to London. It'd been a long old journey, and we were at the stop before Oxford, which I think is the stop before Reading, or maybe there's one in between. But we're about 2.5 hours into this journey, and there's basically a group of school children get on the train with a teacher who I'm guessing are off. They're going to Oxford, so they must be off to like a Christmas market or some kind of school trip anyway. The train is full, so what we end up with is we're sat in this train carriage, and there's about 20 or so school children who are all stood down the middle of the aisle. And everyone's kind of on the train, everyone's a bit like, oh, I don't want school children on. And my friend, who shall remain nameless, I don't know why he does this, but he turns and looks at this, I mean, she must have been like 11, 12-year-old girl, and they make eye contact. So he sits there and he taps his knee and goes, "It's all right, you can sit on my knee." Proper slapping his knees as he says it as well. Cue the teacher just turn around and go, "Right, children, next carriage. Move along, move along."
Does your unnamed friend not tend to do well in social situations in general there, Jay? Or was this an honest mistake?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 014 232 6121.
Right then, ladies and gents, so on we go. And of course, we played another game this week, a South Yorkshire derby to the other lot as well. And this was a very, very difficult game, wasn't it? One of the things that we spoke about a lot of at the beginning of the season is a lack of grit in the Sheffield Wednesday team. And I think we saw the return of the grit for this game, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did. And you know what? It was the time we needed to show it, because it was a traditional derby game in every respect. Now, let's forget for a minute that Barnsley have put a couple of decent wins together. I think in all of our minds, even given the league positions, they're still a bottom feeding League One team who have somehow come good, aren't they? Let's be honest. Yeah, that's in our minds. If we're really honest, Barnsley are just the same as Rovrum. They're no-hopers. They're there to be beaten. They're a punch bag. We've got to go out and do it. But every derby game evens the score. And so Barnsley came out and they wanted it. Their fans wanted it. Credit to them. They travelled in decent numbers for a Tuesday night. Obviously, it's basically three families, but they travelled in decent numbers. They made a lot of noise. We were a little bit a little bit quiet early doors, and I think that was the team was quiet, and therefore the fans were quiet, and so Barnsley made it quite an intimidating atmosphere, and their team responded in kind, and they played good football. They pressed us high, they attacked us, and we looked like the only way we were going to get a result was by grinding one out. And if I say the first goal was fortunate and against a run of play, I don't think too many Wednesday fans would disagree.
I would. I think Lucas João created the whole thing, and I think he's a wonderful player, and I think everybody should get off his back.
You realise it's Lucas João, not George Hurst, that was played in that game, don't you?
Oh, in that case, chuff him.
So yeah, in the sense that Barnsley were a better team than I think anyone was expecting, because usually, and let's be honest, they do come to Hillsborough and just fold like a hooker punched in the stomach by an angry pimp. We laboured.
Is that a voice of reference there?
Where have you been spending your weekends while you've not been with us?
All this time is that.
I've been in the car park at the Majeski Stadium. The things I've seen, gentlemen, the things I've seen. Long story short, we laboured through a game that we never truly, really got hold of and dominated. We came into it much more in the second half, as we always do, kicking towards the Kop. The fans kind of woke up. It got that atmosphere going a bit later on, and we got our just desserts. We got our reward, and we were, anyone who says, football heaven on the way back was ridiculous. It was, full of Barnsley fans going, how we didn't win that game, I'll never know. They had a couple of chances, and they had a decent amount of the play, but it was only, by reference to how it's gone for them in the past, which has been shambolic. So, no, knackers to them. We were the better team. We shaded possession. We shaded the chances. We shaded the performance, and we made the goals count. And you know what? Any day when, the world's second most beautiful man, Sammy Hutchinson, shout out to Sasto, by the way, Ali Vincent, whenever he scores, that the team are up for it, and the fans will be up for it, and everything turned out all right in the end. Not a classic, but we got the 3 points.
I would surmise it with 2 points really, which is one that we have played much better than that this season and lost, and the other that before the game I would have said, look, it's a South Yorkshire derby game. Barnsley are. They were doing all right. They'd actually have gone above us if they'd have won the game. But you still consider Barnsley to be effectively first season back in the Championship. They're in a relegation battle in reality. And it had rained for like 2-3 hours before kick-off. When the pitch is wet like that, it's a bit of a leveller. We can't kind of fall back on the fact that we can play nice football, because when the pitch is that wet, it doesn't matter. Before the game, I would have taken the scrappiest win of all. It was about getting 3 points. The actual performance didn't matter before the game. Now, as soon as the game kicks off, that changes, because you're following it minute by minute and whatever, and you forget what you said before the game. But I said it in the pub that I didn't care how we got the 3 points. All that matters was getting the 3 points. And I'll say the same in 20 minutes when we talk about the Rotherham match. And that's exactly what we did. We got the 3 points. It was a very scrappy first goal. The second goal wasn't much cleaner. That one took a deflection as well. I don't care. We got those 3 points. And like I say, we've played much better than that and got ripped apart this season. And maybe it's one of those games where that little bit of luck went our way. Having said that, I think that between Hutch and Westwood, those two, all pretty much between them, they won the game for us. I thought that they were both phenomenal. I thought that Hutch, that was as good a performance as I think I've seen him put in wearing a Wednesday shirt. He was brilliant. I've got to particularly mention that crossfield pass in the lead up to the first goal was phenomenal, and it was. Me and Chris Holt were tweeting about it. Chris Holt from the Star were tweeting about it the day after, and he says that in the press box he made a noise when Sammy played that ball that made Dom Howson turn round to him and tell him to calm down. That's how good a ball it was, and it was. And you just did. I don't think it was, but you just did it there where it was the kind of ball that just made you go, ooh. It was a special ball, and everything that he did was brilliant. He even managed to get sent off and not get sent off. How good's that? Westwood made some brilliant saves, and I've got to mention Adam Reach as well, who I thought really showed what he can do and came into his own. There were a couple of weaker performances, and I think that a lot of people have mentioned the fact that Bannon didn't have a fantastic game and never really got into it, and I think that's true. But I think that Barry Bannon has earned our trust now to the point whereby we can accept him having a game where he doesn't get into it, and we don't need to make a massive deal about that. We got 3 points. We won the game. Big up to the Wednesday fans, by the way, for one of the best chants that I've heard in Hillsborough for many years. After the Barnsley fans had been singing "Hillsborough's a shithole, I want to go home," when we scored the second and we responded with "Barnsley's a shithole, that's why you're still here," I thought it was a brilliant chant. And big up to the North Stand massive for that one.
Oh, you lot up there with your North Stand and your seats and you're sitting down.
All dangerous people, aren't they? I don't know.
I've heard about you lot. And that's
one thing that did was me off a little bit. Obviously, Eddie mentioned Football Heaven on the way home. How negative were the Wednesday fans after this game on Football Heaven? Some of them.
Bloody rubbish! Can't bloody kick a bloody. It's been a while.
Honestly,
that's what I'm talking about.
As James said, it was a South Yorkshire derby. It was a ground-out result, which, again, we moaned so much that we didn't have that grit at the beginning of the season. We saw it, we won the game, and still people chuffing, moaning. Even Brian Laws was moaning about the Wednesdays whilst he was
bloody happy clappers, bloody hell.
I was on chuffing cloud 9 after this.
It's weird, isn't it? It really is weird. Because it's like, it was, to be fair, right, it was a good game of football, right? It was interesting from the first minute to the last minute. It was an exciting game of football. It was good value to watch. And I tell you what, the last 3 or 4 games at Hillsborough now, we've had good value for our money. We've not had a boring game at Hillsborough for a while. I thought we played some decent stuff. I really did think that we played some decent stuff. I don't think that Barnsley outplayed us. I think they played better than we expected them to do, and therefore maybe their performance stands out. And they certainly, they played at 100 miles an hour, and that's the kind of team that they are. They come out of the blocks and they run at you. And when you do that, then you run the risk of the fact that if you get a team that is technically better than you, then they may well find you out, and that's exactly what happened. But I don't think we were poor at all, and I think that if people want to moan about the fact that we've come up against a team that's in form, that are they're up for this game more than whatever anyone says. They're more up for this game than any other game they're going to play this season, and we won 2-0. What really is there to moan about that?
Honestly, I think the problem is that we have had probably 10 years of us grinding out results in derby games, etc. And finally, this season, we have got the chance of playing, not even Sheffield United, which is too much of a derby game. It doesn't matter how good we are, how good they are. Everyone's always on edge for that one. Stuff like Barnsley, Rovrum, Chesterfield, they're derbies that everyone can get excited about because it's a local game. And of course, it's a cup final for all those small teams. But but for 10 years, we've kind of ground results out in those derby games. And then you look at who we've got now. You look at the team that we've got, the sort of football we play. And I think Wednesday fans were disappointed because I think we've earmarked a prospective turning point in this season since, pretty much since the start of the season. We've gone, there's going to be a day when we turn up and absolutely smash someone. And those games where when there's an expectation that is going to happen, they're few and far between. And I think Tuesday night was one of them. I think even more so, Saturday will be. And you're going to hear, if we come away 2-0 against Rovrum with the same sort of performance, then praise a grumble will be full of Wednesday fans saying it's a grumble because Wednesday didn't do enough, didn't look like a top 6 team, didn't look a top 2 team, etc., etc. So I understand why it was kind of, 3 points, job done, but it wasn't brilliant. I came away thinking that's been 3 points that we needed to get, but you know what? I've got an hour and a half drive home, and and to be honest, did I really enjoy the time spent watching the game? Other than Hutch's performance and Adam Reach's performance, I've got to put my hand on my heart and say honestly, it was an under par performance, and I didn't come away thinking yes, Wednesday we're moving in the right direction. It felt like we got the points despite the fact that we played severely under par for what our expectations are this year.
I agree with you.
We're playing Barnsley though, aren't we? Like, it's this game and the Rotherham game were all about getting 6 points. The performance, it doesn't matter if we're 6th in the table, 1st in the table, or 20th in the table. When you're playing 2 games against your two nearest rivals in this league at home, it's about getting 6 points. It's not about performance.
Can we not just dick someone 6-0 again? It's been long. It's been a while. It's been 2 years since Leeds, and that was a great day. Yeah. Can we not have a few more days like that? Just every now and again, just so we can put up with the crap, with the the shitty 2-1s against Preston. Let's just take a team apart and prove that we can do it, because it's been basically 2 seasons of us getting results and putting together complete team performances apart from that whole spanking somebody thing. That's what the root of the frustration is. We haven't spanked anybody in a long time, present company accepted.
I agree with the point you made about the points, by the way. I think after the Barnsley game, when you look at the league, and bear in mind it's December now, so we're allowed to look at the league. It's those 3 points that we lost at Reading, that we dropped, however way you want to look at it, they'd have been massive. We'd be in a really good position had we have got those points at Reading. And it kind of made you think, what if? But whereas before the Barnsley game, I'm pretty sure a lot of Wednesday fans would have been looking at it going, well, we've won that. We've got 3 points there. I wanted them ones. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you're going back narrative again. Cheer up, you miserable sods. Look at the table.
I thought it was bloody rubbish. Should I bloody win it?
I do not understand this at all. I really, really don't. I think we're having a lovely time. We look at the table. We're up there. We're there or thereabouts. Obviously, after the Barnsley game, we sort of slipped back into the playoffs again. Yes, QPR chuffed up completely by letting Derby win the other day, so we've slipped back out again because Derby's jumped us.
Bloody QPR!
But to me, this is brilliant. We're up there. We're fighting for that championship. The team are looking good. I think we've still got a lot left in the tank. We haven't hit a stride yet. This is what we like before we've hit a stride. We saw it last season. We were picking up points first bit of the season, here, there, and everywhere. Then all of a sudden, after Christmas, we hit a stride and we flew. Right? This is what we're doing without being at our best. And if this is what we can do without being at our best, if we hit that form, it's going to shoot up there for us. Yes, I know it's frustrating. I'd like to spank somebody as well. I'll probably tweet that out most weeks.
Just drop me a text. We'll sort something out.
I'll meet you in Medeski car.
But if I was exactly the same the other day. I was sort of flicking through Dom Housen's headlines that he put out after the Reading game, and everything was negative and nonsense, and it was just so frustrating. To me, this season is going all right so far. And the amount of moaning and whining that I see on Twitter and in the media in general, it baffles me completely. It utterly baffles me. I'm having a lovely time at the moment. I really am. Watching Wednesday now to watching Wednesday 4 years ago, it's amazing. I love it. It's brilliant. We used to be shockingly bad, and I nearly swore then as well. But this is brilliant. I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. I don't understand why people can't just count the chickens, look at what we're doing, and enjoy it.
I think if you look at cold hard facts of this, which is that as Fudge says, we're in December now. It's acceptable to look at the league table. If we'd have lost on Tuesday night against Barnsley, I think we'd have dropped to 11th in the table. As it happens, we won and we went 6th in the table. Now, obviously after Wednesday we've dropped back down to 7th, and whatever happens over the next couple of games happens over the next couple of games. But if we'd have dropped to 11th, then we effectively would have become a mid-table team in the space of 90 minutes. As it was, we stayed up there in those promotion playoff places. And that's what it was about. It was about winning. And sometimes winning, who was it that said the phrase about how sometimes you've just got to win ugly. It doesn't matter how you get those points. You just need to get those points. I kind of feel like sometimes I want to kind of like shake people and just say, look, did you want us to go out against Barnsley and play really, really nice and lose? Would you have been happier if that had happened than the fact that it wasn't a vintage Wednesday performance, but we got 3 points on a wet through Tuesday night when we've just had one of our hardest games of the season on the Saturday. We've got our star player out, suspended. We've got a couple of injury problems. What is it that you really want? What is it? I don't get it.
6-0.
6-0.
We're saving that for Newcastle. We're just wait 10 days. We're saving that for Newcastle.
I want to believe that we are improving from last year. Where last year we had
we're 6 points ahead of where we were last year.
I know we are, absolutely we are, and it reinforces what we've just been saying about. Of course, it's about the points. It doesn't matter how you get it, just win, baby. But last year we had a preeminent defence. We had probably the best back five in the league, and we had a midfield that we have dreamt about having since the days of Chris Waddle and John Sheridan. Yeah, and the strikers, even though they were kind of streaky, they were scoring goals, and it was Hooper for a bit, and then Forestieri take over, and people kind of did their bit. This time round, we kind of expected, with the addition of Fletcher, and I'm not putting this on Fletcher. I'm not saying this is all his fault, but it felt like we were addressing the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and it feels, and the points don't necessarily bear it out, but it feels like the jigsaw still isn't fully assembled. We need.
I agree.
We need that striker. We need someone who is going to shit kick our way to 25 goals in a season. If he comes in January and he scores 15, then that's going to be enough. Yeah. So that is what we need.
We said this thing. We were kind of staggering away from the Majeski Stadium on Saturday, and the conclusion that we came to as we were hobbling towards that hotel bar was that what we need is Jordan Rhodes. And that's the conclusion that we came to, wasn't it? Yeah. That we need someone that can just stick the ball in the back of the net. Doesn't matter how well we play or otherwise, that just score goals. And that might well be the difference this season for us between being there or thereabouts and being there. That might be what makes the difference. Because I think what you say is true and is correct. I guess the thing that I'm taking hope from at the moment is that it's absolutely true when people say, look, we're not firing on all cylinders, we've not hit our stride. We've got to believe that is going to happen. That we've got a good enough squad, we've got good enough players, we've got a good enough team spirit, we've got an intelligent enough coach, we've got all the right ingredients that when it does happen, and we all thought it would happen in August, and it didn't, and since then we thought it's just around the corner, and we're now in December, and it's still not really happened. If that does happen, if that happens in January, if that happens at the start of January, and we go on a run like we did last season, we are seriously in contention this season. We've got to have hope. If we didn't, if we were knocking around the top six with players that we thought are not really good enough, we're punching above our weight. If we were Huddersfield, then I'd probably be a little bit worried, thinking we're going to get found out at some point. Where the situation we're in is the opposite to that, whereby the players we've got are good enough, and we know that they can do it, and we know that we can go out and spank teams 6-0. We've got a team that's good enough to do that. We've got to keep the faith that it is around the corner and that it's going to happen. In the meantime, all we need to do is get 3 points in games, and that's what we did on Tuesday, and hopefully that's what we'll go out and do on Saturday. And at that, I'm happy. Can I just read from the Wikipedia entry for Sam Hutchinson, which someone I'm guessing someone changed the other day. It's probably been changed back again since. But this is what it says. On May the 23rd, 2014, Chelsea released Hutchinson and made him available for free transfer. Hutchinson signed a 2-year deal with Sheffield Wednesday on the 8th of July 2014. He's renowned for tackling and looking like he's chiselled from stone. He once tackled a double-decker bus that hard that it turned into a bendy bus. That's the single best statement, the single best sentence that I've ever read. That's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Here's a question. Where would you find all of the following in one place? Chairs, tables, beer, Vic, James, more beer, Dick Yow, Eddie, more beer, and the rest of the Wednesday Week gang. That's right, it's the Riverside Cafe's new outside bar. All of your favourite lagers, ciders, soft drinks and hand pump ales are now available outside. Come and see the gang and give it a try. The Riverside Cafe's new outside bar, now open on match days.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on with a scant little bit of Wednesday news we have. First of all, the youth have been doing rather well, haven't they? All these young kids running around Hillsborough. They had a wonderful game against Luton last week, which they won 4-0. And have you guys seen the goals from the game?
Is this a George Hurst
free kick?
This is not. George Hurst did not play in this game, I don't believe. Unfortunately,
he's too good for that now.
That free kick was amazing, wasn't it, Jay?
That was an absolute work of art. That's the kind of thing that you see like Premier League teams do, and it's shown again and again in like those highlight reels and for the adverts for Super Sunday and stuff like that. It was a beautifully worked free kick. It was absolutely top notch, and the fact that was at Hillsborough was just brilliant. So I think it's. We spent a long time, didn't we, after Dave Allen decided that you don't need an academy, you don't need young players, what are they for, and got rid of the whole thing. It's taken us a fair while to get back on our feet in terms of young players coming through, and we've talked about some of the youth that we've got knocking around the first team that are there or thereabouts now, and it does feel like it's looking pretty rosy right now, and it's teams like Southampton and stuff who've really kind of got themselves back to the top level of football, largely down to their academy and the money that can bring in. I think it's really promising, really promising.
It's been a long road back, hasn't it? Let's be honest. We, as much as we remember the hard times that the first team went through and not having any money and the trials and tribulations of that during those years we had basically nothing other than the first team. The academy was a laughing stock. The reserves weren't anything at all. Luke Bowden did 14 years in our academy just because we couldn't find anybody else to come in. It's amazing how far we've come. And I know a couple of the guys who are involved on the coaching side and have kind of seen it through from the bad days right to here, and it is like night and day. That we've got the right investment, we've got the right money, but more importantly, we've got the right people and the right ethos behind it. And we're reaping the rewards. And wonderful George Hurst, the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday, is only the start. We will, and I'm going to put it out there, we will have better than George Hurst coming through.
How dare you!
It's going to happen. It is going to happen. And whether we go down the Southampton route of blooding these players and and turning them into multi-million-pound stars and then shipping them off, or whether it's a case that they are going to form the backbone of our future, who knows at this point? But it is. At least now, we're seeing that with those green shoots are turning into, little saplings. And, we like a sapling, but what we need is a mighty oak. And, the first one that does. And let's hope it's George. If that happens, then, we truly can say we're on our way back, because that is the final piece of the jigsaw, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That was beautiful, that. Just do that sentence again, because that was beautiful.
Should put some music behind it.
That was
dramatic music.
It felt like, what was it, like a Hovis advert or something like that? I mean, that was special. that was a special sentence.
Lad, what you look out on now is stony ground. But one day in the future, there will be green shoots. Them green shoots will turn to saplings. And then one day, your children's children will gaze upon a mighty oak. And on that day, son, you can say, we did all right.
Brilliant, lovely. Get him in the coaching stuff. Of course, if anybody would like to go and watch the youths, they have been drawn against Gillingham in the next round of the Youth FA Cup as well. That's on the 6th of January. And the ticket prices, which nobody can moan about, is £3 for adults and £2 concessions. And it's at Hillsborough, so that'd be lovely.
Bloody hell, bloody monsters to watch a load of bloody kids.
Didn't we used to get in free with our season tickets? Does that not happen anymore? We've got to pay £3
bloody
now.
Hell, bloody chance here, he charges us for bloody kids.
Oh, pay you £3 and shut your bloody moaning.
Bloody hell.
You might even get to see George Hurst. Right. Worth £3 of anybody's money. Next little bit of Wednesday news. Of course, Mr. Hutchinson has been, which I don't think is any surprise after this wonderful performance, named in the EFL Team of the Week after his marvellous display against Barnsley. We're not surprised about this, are we?
No.
Not surprised in the slightest. You know what we've not talked about? We talked about the Barnsley game. We've not talked about the sending off that wasn't a sending off that was a sending off, but wasn't for who it was for. Have we? How did we gloss over that one?
I got so angry. I stood at the part of the north stand that I'm on is back over towards the cop. It's not full of like proper tasty lads like you get down. It's a little bit
I'm
more
with the youth.
oriented. With the youth. So me standing up, and I had a couple of pints. I was feeling predictably well lubricated, and I must confess, and those of you that are in that part of the north stand that listen, I apologise. I did drop a couple of double effing C-bombs directly at the linesman at that point. And there's a lovely lady who sits in front of me. There's a lovely lady. In the In-Betweeners, Will's mum in the In-Betweeners, she's quite fit in a kind of milfy way. So the lovely lady who sits in front of me, she's a lot like that. She's really, really nice. And honestly, I probably would. And when I dropped the double effing C at the referee, she turned round and gave me a withering look that means she
come to bed.
She probably, she wasn't come to bed. It was very much she probably thinks I'm an uncouth youth now, and B, as a result of that, I'll probably never finger her. So I apologise for that. But
Wednesday week news.
Everyone felt that way, though, didn't they? Everyone felt
that you're not going to be able to feel
not that. No, everyone probably did feel that way. But everyone felt that Hutch had been sent off, and it was a diabolical decision. I think, again, it was done to death on Football Heaven on the way home. It was. I could understand the ref making the decision he made. He displayed it in a terrible way. I mean, it was literally like just facing the opposite direction to where he needed to give a penalty. It'd be like pointing at the centre spot to indicate that he'd given a penalty. So it doesn't surprise me that it all kicked off. And the best bit of it all was Bully and Heck, who had played alongside each other at Cardiff and all the way through that season, literally getting into full-on windmill. I love that. I love the fact that happened. But yeah, what an absolute state. The ref should have a go with himself.
Brilliant. Love it. Bless him. Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on, shall we? The last little bit we've got, of course, we have to preview the Rotherham game. Now, as we've mentioned quite a little bit about already, it is a derby. It's going to be a tasty affair. Rotherham might actually drag themselves out of their misery and get themselves up for this game. But let's face it, they are rock bottom of the league. They are 8 points adrift of their nearest competitor, which is Wigan, I think. Are they on 18? I think if we did lose this game, I might turn into Fudge.
Oh, bloody rubbish! Bloody hell. But Rotherham's a weird one for me because I'm going to Eastleigh like I have been the last few weeks. Ronnie Moore recently parted ways with Eastleigh, and Twitter was awash with people just nailing their mortgage on Ronnie Moore going back to Rotherham, and it's not happened. So what's going on there? Why is it such a mess? Because I remember back in the day, it was not too long ago, since we had the Chuckle Brothers parading their ass around the New York bloody stadium. Do you know what I mean? And something fell to shit. And, they took a punt on a unproven manager at some point, and it's fallen apart. So where do they go from here? Do they just consolidate, try and rein in the wage bill? Or do they go for it? Because there's time left in the season to try and get it back. But when you've got your morale on its ass like it is, it makes you think, is it worth it, lads? Come on now.
I've been for tea with my dad tonight, and we've talked a lot about this. He lives in Rotherham, but he's a Wednesday fan, obviously, as most of Rotherham is. But we talked a lot about the fact that right now I think Rotherham are at a real crossroads as to what they do, because they are so far adrift that they have to now, realistically, they should be planning for how to get out of League One next season. So they need to be bringing in a manager now who can identify the gaps in their squad so they can bring the players in the summer that are going to get them back into the Championship at the first time of asking. None of this is relevant for Saturday because, in actual fact, I mean, they won the game before last. They lost on Tuesday against Fulham. I'm told they played decent against Fulham, that they did all right. I think there's a little bit of confidence just sneaking back into them. I think that it only takes a glance at the league table for that confidence to get kind of knocked out of them again. It really should be a win for us, this. Now, we know that when it comes to derby games, particularly against Rotherham, form book and all that kind of stuff, what should happen goes out the window. We saw it last season, and there is a real risk there again this season, and I think that we've got to approach this game the right way. I think if we go into this game thinking that it's a foregone conclusion, then we'll get found out. We didn't have a great record against the bottom 3 or 4 teams last season, and we can't make that mistake again. So I think we've got to approach it in the right way. We've got to, certainly on the pitch, we've got to pay them enough respect, and we've got to figure out a way to win it. And I'm sure Carlos, certainly what he said in his pre-match stuff has seemed quite sensible. He seems to be taking it seriously. And it's exactly the same as it was on Tuesday night. It's about getting 3 points on Saturday. I don't care if we play nice or not. I just want 3 points. That's all I'm interested in on Saturday is 3 points. I'll take the scruffiest, most boring game of football. I'll take a 94th minute winner. I just want 3 points.
They did us at ours last year, didn't they? Our unbelievable home record. It was only Middlesbrough that had beaten us, and that bunch of tramps turned up and put us back in our box. So that's not going to happen again. And I think, especially after Tuesday, I think that we will come out like a pack of rabid dogs, and I think we will tear them apart. And I think we're going to win 6-0. And then I have nothing else to say about what we may or may not be lacking this season. 6-0 victory makes everything all right. And I'll see you in May.
Well, that's it. Everybody's happy then now, isn't it?
Simple as that. It's going to be an interesting one. It is a derby. It's going to have that flair. Hopefully the Wednesday night is going to go for it, because one of the things that Carlos has mentioned repeatedly is the fans getting behind the team. He popped a little video out, and if we get chance, and if I remember, we'll stick it out from the Wednesday week Twitter feed as well, just to gee everybody up for that game as well. But yeah, it's just if we get behind the lads and they feel the love, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be okay.
Are you going to tweet it out with a hashtag getting ready for Reading? Or...
run up to Reading.
Run up to Reading.
You know what? Fair enough. When I'm tweeting away, I do get rather overexcited sometimes, and sometimes I make certain mistakes. I'm not terribly educated. However, I do also edit this podcast. So now what I'm going to do is leave all your silly little mistakes in, but I'll only chop out and make it sound lovely. But you can all go in now. I love it. Right then, ladies and gents, that's going to bring us to an end of this week's proceedings. Mr. Fudgy, old boy, if people want to catch up with you in various car parks down south, where can we do that, Toby?
I'm currently sat in a car park behind my venue at the minute. I did move halfway through that podcast, but yes, you can find me on Twitter at Dan Fudge. Careful, because I do say F a lot.
Eddie Old Bean, if people want to find your nonsense over there on the Twitter, where can we do that?
So I am, as always, at Sausage Arms on Twitter. I'm going to be there on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Come and say hello. I don't bite. It's been a bit weird recently, because last season I used to get a lot of people doing the sort of thing that Fudge has been alluding to. When you're trying to have a slash and people are you that Eddie off them the Owls Talk podcast? And I go, no, I'm not, and I beat them repeatedly over the head with the urinal.
With your wet end.
Yeah, so I think it's probably because I haven't been on here an awful lot that people have forgotten that I exist. And obviously I crave attention and validation. And so, please come up and say, are you that Eddie? Can you buy me a drink? And I'll probably say yeah.
And James Old Bean, first of all, one thing I would like to say, Jay, is your and Victoria's and everybody's really, the videos you've been popping out on Facebook have been fantastical. So if you are over there on the Facebooks, do keep a little eye out for the live vids over there as well. But there has been a bit of a Twitter update this week as well, so we can do that on Twitter as well now, Jake, which is going to be marvellous. So if people do want to catch up with all that kind of nonsense, where can we do that, Jake?
I'm sorry, I've just got a point of order. Is this a point where you're more technologically advanced than I am? I didn't know that. Am I being out-technologied by Lord Hillsborough? This is an embarrassing moment in my life. Oh, dear.
What did you think was going to happen after Vine shut? They were just going to stop having videos?
It's not so much that I think they've integrated Periscope into Twitter, basically.
Okay. Yes. I was going to say, don't they own Periscope, don't they? So, yeah, that makes sense. All right, cool.
I think it's been integrated right. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see some of those as well.
We're on it. So, yeah, if you want to get me on Twitter, I am at James Marriott. That's with 2 R's and 2 T's. I've only got one little bit this week, which is return of the feature that is known and loved among sections of, me, basically. Which is
the James's household.
The Carlos quote of the week. Which is, and I don't really understand the context of this. I'm not going to pretend that I know the context of this. It was during his pre-match press conference today, talking about the Rotherham game on Saturday, and it goes along the lines of this: if a striker missed 3 penalties, if a goalkeeper give 5 chickens. No idea. I mean, absolutely no. Carlos, like. What the fuck? Carlos, seriously, what's going on? What? 5? What? Brilliant.
Oh, dear. I spent a lot of time this week looking at Carlos videos because all I wanted was Carlos saying easy 3 times. That's all I wanted. And the amount of videos I had to go through of Carlos to get him to say easy 3 times with 3 different backgrounds was incredible. And listening to him, it's lovely if you do it for 10, 15 minutes. If you do it for an hour, it really does start to get rather unusual. It's really strange. And to be honest, I was completely and utterly baffled. But no, classic. We'd need some kind of website dedicated to these quotes, James. We need to get this taken care of.
I think a Carlos soundboard would be a worthy use of somebody's time, wouldn't it? You know, with the entire top row of the keyboard, just his way of saying opposites.
Can you remember back in the 90s, chaps, when we were children, and we used to get those little buttons that you press, and it had like machine guns and things on?
Yeah, like one was like a bomb dropping.
Yeah. How good would those sell in the shop if it was just Carlos goes? You're welcome, Sheffield Wednesday Retail. You're welcome.
Brilliant. So for Saturday, important points. One is that I'm going to be in the Riverside slightly later than usual, but this is on the basis of the fact that we have our Christmas party after the game. So we'll be back in the Riverside after the game. I do have a slight reputation, which is entirely true, that normally I'm asleep by about 8, half 8, 9 o'clock on a match day. Yep. So I have to get there a little bit later in order to stay awake a little bit later at night. So, you know, I might make it till maybe 10 o'clock, half 10, maybe even 11, who knows. A little bit later on Saturday. The other thing as well about Saturday is that we're doing this minute's applause before the game for everyone that we've lost from the Wednesday family over the last 12 months, which I think is brilliant. We've talked, a few times on this podcast about people that have that sadly have left us over the last year. So I think that's going to be quite a poignant moment before the match. So big up to Sheffield Wednesday for doing that. And, certainly I'll make sure that I'm in the ground for at least 10 to make sure I'm in my seat and ready for that before the game. And I hope everyone else is as well.
Absolutely. Of course, ladies and gents, if you would like to follow the podcast over there on the Twitter, you can do that at TWWcast. We have been trying something a little bit new just recently. We've been sticking out videos of past games. James alluded to it earlier with the run-up to Reading. We also did a build-up to Barnsley, and there is now run-up to Rotherham on there as well. So if you have a look at the hashtag, the Rotherham ones we just popped out, obviously the 98th minute... put my teeth back in, shall I? The 98th minute winner from Mr. Lee. Well, it's got some few old ones on there. I don't know if you guys might remember these. Glenn Whelan and Dion Burton scoring way back in 07.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones. They were lovely. That's fantastic. Coochie. Who doesn't love a little bit of Coochie? And Adam Proudlock also scoring in there. 2-0 win over there back in 2003.
He scored plenty of things that night. Scored about 4 grams from what I remember.
hear this. Yeah. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Absolutely. And there's also a couple of videos of some fantastic goalkeeping performances from Mr. Pressman and Mr. Grant. Also, would like to pass our condolences on to Mr. Pressman, because unfortunately his father passed away after a battle with cancer this week as well, which is absolutely heartbreaking for him. So, of course, our thoughts go out to you as well, Mr. Pressman. Of course, if you would like to get hold of me over there on the Twitter, you can do that at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. Please do feel free to come over and correct all of my spelling mistakes and grammar. I love it when people do that. And please don't be offended if I do rip the piss out of you mercilessly once you've done that as well. Love you all, lads. It's been a pleasure as always, ladies and gents. Be good, be safe, and we'll see you
real soon.
Oh, you see, just to pop it out of it now, doesn't it? Completely.
Here's a chance here.